I Capture the Castle was Dodie Smith's first novel, written during the 1940s when she and her husband moved from their native England to California. Smith was already an established playwright, and the novel concerns an eccentric family struggling to live in genteel, very genteel, poverty in a decaying castle during the 1930s. The narrator is Cassandra Mortmain, a 17-year-old girl with a classical education but no real idea of what she's going to do with her life or how to leave her home, the castle, which is situated in Suffolk. She talks much about her unusual abode, which has suffered badly from Victorian modernisation and their many years of neglect, including the time that her family have lived there. Her family consists of James Mortmain, her father, a novelist with a temper and writer's block. He moved them to live in the castle 10 years ago in a fit of something or other. Then there's Topaz, his second wife and their stepmother, brackets not wicked. She's a celebrated artist model who enjoys communing with nature, sometimes wearing nothing but gumboots. At almost 30, she fears that her best years are behind her. Next, there's Rose, Cassandra's sister, who's 21 and dreams of finding a handsome husband to rescue them from the poverty like something out of Jane Austen, while Cassandra herself thinks she would prefer to be a Bronte heroine. Then there's Thomas, who at 15 is considered tolerably bright and has won a full scholarship to a good school. And finally, Stephen Colley, who's 18 and their man of all work. His mum came to work for the family as a maid or housekeeper in better times, and then when she died, he stayed living with them, and he is the only one who does any work around the place. He's also stunningly beautiful, like all the Greek gods rolled into one, apparently. All of this is turned on its head when two young, handsome American brothers move into the big house nearby, and the relationships for the Mortmains and the Cottons become entwined. It's a lovely book. It was brought to screen in 2003 in what I think is a really charming adaptation that captures the coming-of-age story. And I could just talk about how well the clothing of the characters and the costume design does, but actually I'm going to wax lyrical about one lovely Fair Isle brown and cream cardigan. The supposed poverty of the family, I mean, it's all relative, they don't seem to have great urgency to go out to work, means that lots of their wardrobe is recycled and used over again. There's an implication of that Cassandra's grown out of her clothes and also is being passed on other items that maybe belong to Topaz or her mother. So there's definitely a recycled element in everything that she wears, but this cardigan features quite a lot, and you can see it would appeal to me with my love of brown, because it does appear to be a mostly brown with cream and pink accented cardigan. I just think it's lovely. Is a three-act play by Noel, written in 1924. The play depicts the conflict that arises within a conventional upper-middle-class household when the only son of the family marries a glamorous divorcee. It has been revived several times and made into a film twice, once in 1928 and again in 2008. The Easy Virtue film of 2008 has another impoverished family living in the big house this time, and they are losing their grip on their home and their way of life with the after effects of the First World War and the change of the agricultural and social environment in the following decades. This family also consists of a brother and two sisters, but is the American wife of the prodigal son that really brings them all to breaking point with some hilarious results. Again, the clothing in this story tells a wonderful story. The always dressed for the freezing cold, jolly hockey sticks, stiff upper lipness of the family versus the glamour but also deeply practical nature of the American racing driver, Loretta. But it was one particular cardigan on the younger sister, Hilda, that caught my eye. It's the same one as Cassandra's. She may also be wearing the same grey gym slip, as well befits a younger sister in some scenes. This is not surprising. The two films share a costume designer, Charlotte Walter, who has also designed more recent films set in similar eras such as the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society and Wicked Little Letters. So she has a great eye for clothing people in the 1900s through to the late 40s and 50s. When I connected the first two films, I did wonder if perhaps this cardigan was part of her stash of costumes that she pulled from, or is it hidden away in a costume house waiting for her to pull it out again like an old favourite? I do always cast my eyes out for it if I'm ever in one of those big costume hire companies in case I see it, but I never have, and normally I'm there to look for costumes of a completely different era. It's a really gorgeous cardigan in shades of brown and cream, my favourites, with a pink border on the centre front for the button stand and around the hem and on the pocket details. It's hip length as befits the 1920s and early 30s and quite well fitted, and can be worn either done up or undone over other layers. So there you have me talking about a cardigan that featured in two films from eras that I love. So imagine how delighted I was a few years ago when watching an episode of the original All Creatures Great and Small, based on James Herriot's books, It Shouldn't Happen to a Vet, that was made by the BBC from 1978 to 1990. When what should I see as the same cardigan turning up on the fearsome secretary briefly employed by Siegfried Farnham until her desire for order and correct accounting became too much for him. The fact that it appears in this series, which has some absolutely cracking knitwear on all the characters, and the fact that it was made by the BBC makes me think that the cardigan originated from the BBC costume store that sadly no longer exists, and all the items from it have been absorbed into many of the other costume hire houses. It looks much bluer in this footage rather than cream and brown. It may not be the same cardigan, but if more than one exists, then maybe it was a shop-bought item from the 1920s or 30s that have survived. Or it's just the different film quality over the years picking up different shades in the garment. Anyway, there you have a video about me waxing lyrical of a brown and cream cardigan. I love spotting costumes that have been reused in films more than once. If you have a favourite garment that's appeared in more than one production, you can maybe find it on the Recycled Movie Costumes site and Instagram page, which I'll leave the details of down below. Or you can write in the comments what it is and where you've seen it, if there's something you want me to pay attention to. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you and goodbye.